Live and in the studio at The Truth, it's Faith Works Live with Mikey D.
Thanks for listening today. I'm glad that you're joining us. It's a beautiful Thursday outside. This is Faith Works Live, proudly sponsored by Baldwin Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. And I am so glad that you're with us today. I'm being joined in studio by Michael Mudloff, one of my good friends. And we got an interesting show topic today. But before we jump headlong into that, I gotta take just a moment, and I need to rant. So I got a couple things I need.
I'm listening, Michael.
I need to rant, and I just need to vent,
I
need you to hear this.
I will be your pastor today.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I need to talk to you about first off something not serious and something serious. The not serious, fidget spinners. They're taking over the world.
Yes. You know, we went to a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, and it was a burger place, so it wasn't terribly formal. And it's the kind of place that you walk up to the counter and you order there, and then you go sit and wait for it to be cooked.
Sure. Was it Smash Burger?
No, but I love Smash Burger.
I do too.
We should do a show from Smash Burger.
Yes, we should.
It's by my house, which makes it really dangerous.
Yeah.
At any rate, this was at another part of town, and the young woman taking our order had a fidget spinner in her hand while taking our order. I didn't say anything because, like my children have attempted to convince me that this is for people with ADD, ADHD. So it's really, so I'm thinking, okay, this young woman
what did we ever do before
she's
these?
She's functioning really well now because she's got this thing. Yeah.
How does something that you have to focus on help you focus on other things?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's the rhetoric that I'm hearing about these things.
I am the wrong guy to talk to about the latest trends. I am not the guy.
I'm gonna display my total ignorance. What is a fidget spinner?
It's a little thing that you spin in your fingers.
It's got a ball bearing in the middle, and it's got usually three sides to it, like a windmill. Except you hold it in your hand and it flips around.
You just spin it in your fingers.
Spin it. And it spins for a long time.
This is a big deal. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're listening, would you tell me if your kids have these things?
Yeah.
Did you realize, Michael, there is, no joke,
Tell me.
a global shortage of ball bearings because of being attributed to the production of these fidget spinners.
This would be a bad time to go to war then, wouldn't it? We got a shortage of ball bearings right now due to the fidget spinner craze, so we're not going to be able to defend ourselves properly. This is a national security issue.
Stephanie's on Facebook says it's oddly addicting. Do you have one of those, Stephanie? If you do, we need to talk.
It is. It's oddly addicting. Stephanie, tell me about this, because I think it's just odd.
I do too. I'm not on the addicting part. I'm with you.
So my 13-year-old son, who will not, I won't give his names. I'll just give his initials. Nathaniel.
So he's not confused with the three other 13-year-old sons.
Right. He's into the fidget spinners, and so he had to have one right now, and I don't know what happened. He couldn't. My wife was in charge. I wasn't home. So he ends up going on the Amazon account and ordering one on the Prime account. It's going to be here in 2 days.
Man.
Except it came from China, and it came in like a month, and it just drove him nuts. He was saying, so then he wanted us to take him to the store anyway. No. So he had to learn some patience, which was good. But he's into the latest thing, and
I went down.
He's got the fidget spinners.
I happened to go into, and this is thanks to Chris Roloff, happened to go into a store right here in Merle Mall today, a game store, and when I went in, she was selling some, and she told me, she's like, "Oh, do you want to buy some?" And I'm like, "No," because I picked it up. I had never actually held one, and I spun it in my fingers just to see.
Have a nice feel to it.
No,
is it balanced well?
It was so weird. And anyway, She said, "Well, I will not have these tonight. I will sell out of these tonight."
So you must buy one.
And she told me, she's like, "I can't keep them on the shelf." She was dead serious, and she has them for $15 and $21.99 for the special little one or whatever. Right. And I'm like, and she had a whole display of them, and I'm like,
they light up when they go around and stuff.
That is so odd. I don't get it.
It's
So
the thing.
that's
So my son Nathaniel takes videos of him doing tricks and posts them on YouTube on his
I just watched a
YouTube
video
channel.
of somebody doing a fidget spinner trick that you can show your kids, and the guy put it on the table and he spun it, and then he opened up the garbage can and flipped it in the garbage can.
I should try that.
Yeah, watch
Yeah.
this, Nathaniel.
I gotta be careful with Nathaniel, because Nathaniel knows that I'm not enamored with all of the latest thing that he's into, and
Well, I don't get it.
try to be encouraging.
I honestly don't get it, but hey, whatever spins your thingy, that's fine, I guess. Your spins your fidget. There you go.
Right.
So the other thing, and this one's more serious.
Okay. It's not baptism, is it?
No. No.
You're never going back there. Right? You don't even want another rest.
Well, hey, we could go back there, but not today.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I mean this. I have been dealing pastorally with some situations, and it's just like literally, it's weighing on me. You ever have situations like that? Just,
Yeah.
I mean, you
Michael, when I was younger, I could sleep at night no matter what was going on in my life. I can't do that anymore for some of the older I get. I wake up. I woke up in the middle of the night a couple of nights ago, worried about a young woman who's part of a family in our church.
Yeah, and I am in a similar place with some folks in my church and people that I love dearly. But here's where I'm at. I really feel that when men don't lead, the impact of that is so systemic and causes such hurt and brokenness and chaos and pain. It's not quantifiable. It's immeasurable how deeply felt the burdens can be, and that's been weighing on me big time.
Yeah. Well, all of us in pastoral ministry shepherd congregations with women who come alone.
Yeah.
And bring their kids or bring their grandchildren. We don't often have as many men who come alone. But even though what you just said is not politically correct, I think everybody knows it's true anyway, because you can find resources in the church world that will speak about the reality that if you can get the husband in the church, or if the husband comes to saving faith, the family will follow.
Right.
And that is, I have found that in my experience. Again, not quantifiable, but I've found that in my experience to be absolutely true.
I would say 100%.
The men who are committed, who are leading their families, the families are growing in their faith. They're committed. They're involved as well.
No, I see that as a reality and as a truth as well. And what is so overwhelmingly heartbreaking to me is, like I said, just when a man fails to be the man that God's called him to be, either in the role of a husband or the role of a father, that the brokenness that is left in his wake is so horrible, and that's where I'm at, and I'm dealing with several situations, and it just kills me, and it's been weighing on me, and my heart has literally. I haven't, you get things that you can't turn off in your brain, and this is one of those things for me right now, and it's just. I have to give it up to the Lord, and if you're out there and you're a pastor, I hope at least you should know the feeling and the burden, and if you're out there and you are a woman who has a husband that isn't leading, I just want to encourage you in the Lord.
Absolutely.
And I want to tell you to keep standing up for Christ and fall in love with your first husband, Jesus, and
absolutely,
and hold close to him.
That's a good word, Michael. I have to say, in addition to what you've just said and what I said earlier, that the single moms in the congregation and the women who find themselves in the spiritual leadership role by default are some of my heroes.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Those people are working hard.
Oh man,
and they need all the encouragement.
We just had Mother's Day, and you look at. I know women that never envisioned in a million years they're going to be doing this alone. They never thought, their dream was not, hey, I want to raise several kids by myself.
Yeah.
But that's where they find themselves, this Mother's Day.
And of course, those situations are complicated, and we're not trying to unpack all of that now. But it's a tough road to be a single parent.
It is.
A mom or a dad.
It is.
And we have both. There's no question about it.
And that's why without the church, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
I thank God for...
And then on top of it, you have the single parents who are living not where they grew up without the benefit of their parents and the extended family there to help them. I mean, the church is there for you.
Right.
I hope your church is there for you. If your church is not there for you, there are churches that are there for you.
That's the truth. And speaking of, by the way, I'll just throw it out. Tell us about Westkirk, times and all that.
Westkirk Presbyterian Church, 2700 Colby Woods in Urbandale, just north of Hickman Road. Pretty blue church, tall white steeple. That's how people know it. And we meet for our Sunday morning services at 9 a.m. That's our traditional service. Sunday school in between. And at 11:15 is our less traditional service.
Less traditional?
Yeah.
Nice.
You like that?
Yeah, I love that.
We don't use the C word.
That's so diplomatic.
Yep. Traditional and less traditional. Sunday, though, I need to say this, though, Michael. This Sunday, we're having one service. We're having unified service for Memorial Day weekend. It's at 10:30.
Oh.
And it'll be less traditional, mostly, with some traditional elements sprinkled in.
There you go. I would just throw in, I pastor Fort Des Moines Church of Christ on the south side, and been there. I'm coming up on 2 decades, Michael, at the fort, and been there quite a while.
Good for you, brother.
And anyways, we
have to talk about that sometime.
Yeah.
You know, early on in ministry, when I would go through difficult times, one of the things that motivated me to keep on was that none of my seminary buddies had quit.
Nice.
I am not going to be the first one to give up on this.
That's awesome.
So yes,
well,
indeed.
You know what? I wouldn't mind talking about that, because there have been times, where I've really thought, man, maybe God, you just need me to go. Maybe this is the right time. And
sure.
We. Maybe that's something worthwhile of discussing. But hey, I appreciate you guys that are listening today, and I appreciate you. Jessica said that. Thank you. I'm one of those women, married, but I go it alone spiritually. And,
bless you, Jessica.
Jessica,
we appreciate you.
Yeah, we do, and it's hard, but God's word is a comfort to you, and God's word gives a lot of encouragement for women in your position, actually, and I think that's an encouraging thing. There really isn't a place in life that you can find yourself that God's word's not going to speak to, and that's a powerful thing. But I appreciate you guys listening and letting me climb up on my soapbox every once in a while and just sharing my thoughts. And if we can get rid of the fidget spinners, and if we can get men to lead, we'll make this world a better place. We'll see you when we come back.
From Southeast Polk to Sailorville Lake, you know where to find us, right here on 99.3 The Truth, KTIA. So why don't you join us now by calling 515-727-KTIA.
You're listening to Faith Works Live, and I am your host, Michael Damastis. And I'm so glad that you're joining us on this beautiful Thursday afternoon with the sun shining and blue skies. It just is one of those days to have your windows down outside. And
turned out to be a beautiful day, and we were ready for one, weren't we?
Yeah, we needed it. I am so glad that the sun is actually here and shining down. And this is a little known fact, but I'm a turtle guy. I love turtles. I have 2 pet turtles.
Yeah, really?
I know that's weird.
You ever go to those places down south in Texas or in Florida where they have the sea turtles and they release them and they try to preserve them and all that?
Yeah, I've been on beaches where there are nesting sites. I've been on those beaches, but I haven't actually been like at a release or anything like that. Oh, I know it is.
Sanibel Island in Florida, South Padre, Texas.
I've been on beaches where the turtles nest.
I think that stuff's fun. I'm a national park geek.
Good.
I love those places.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you.
So glad.
And this is
President Roosevelt, the first one, put that together.
Here's a PSA. I mean, this is springtime, and beautiful day like today. More often than not, there's certain places where you can be driving down the road and you'll see a turtle crossing the road. And if it's safe for you to do so, to stop your vehicle and get out and help that turtle across the road in the direction that he is, or most likely she is going, And the reason when I say she is because usually they're on the
Nesting.
move
Yep.
to go and nest and lay their eggs.
That's right.
And what we would see most of the time up here in Iowa is snapping turtles, common snappers. They'll be crossing. A lot of times you'll see them smashed and right on the side of the road, and that's a female. And they will travel up to 10 miles looking for the right kind of soft sand nesting site, to
And they don't go
lay
very
their
fast.
eggs. They don't go fast, but it's just one of those things, and they'll go across the roads. And so if you can, snapping turtles, by the way, be very careful as you help them across the road.
Approach them from the rear.
From the rear, yes. And don't, this is just another thing. Don't grab them by their tail and pick them up.
No,
a lot of
that's
people
not
do
the right
that.
place.
It's not a good way to hold them, even though you can do that, but it doesn't, because you can hurt their spine the whole 9
You
yards.
just got to grab them by the shell, don't you, Michael?
Yeah, in the back. Yeah, but they got sharp claws and the whole 9 yards. So just, I know, how do we get there?
So never mind the PSA.
Yeah, but just be careful. Be careful and help the turtles if you can. So, hey, we brought this up in the last segment, and I want to tell you about this because this is we do have a topic. If we're going to get to it, and I think we can handle it in the last half hour. But here's what I want to talk about this because there are times when, as a pastor, I felt like quitting, and I think maybe not. I shouldn't say this. I haven't felt like quitting the ministry. I've never had that feeling, at least that I am cognizantly aware of at this point. I've had times
at your age and my age, we're not qualified to do anything else anymore, so we're kind of stuck
pretty much
with the ministry role.
It's here or Baskin Robbins, one of the two. Because there's not a big skill set for Baskin Robbins, I don't think, at least. But
but there is some passion there, I can tell.
Yeah, I would love to work at Baskin Robbins.
That's what I was thinking.
It would be the best. But here's the scoop, and I can tell you just
no pun intended.
Yeah. Oh man, I'll go back. Let's see. I've been at the fort now, coming up on 2 decades. I'm in my 19th year. This December will be a full 19 years. Mm-hmm. And then
so we are about the same age, I bet.
Yeah.
I'm in my 13th year at West Kirk, and prior to that, I was 7.5 years at First Federated here in Des Moines.
Okay, and I was before Fort Des Moines. I was at 5 years at a little country church right out of seminary and Bible college, and I was in Illinois, Putnam Christian Church, and the church building was the original building built in 1866.
Nice.
Yeah, beautiful setting too. But anyways, so I've been in pulpit ministry
How long
for
before they ran you out of town?
They didn't run me out of town.
Oh.
In fact, they did not want me to leave. But in fact, I've been back a few times and have been invited back to preach at one of their celebrations. And the church, lovely people, lovely setting, and God gave me the right place to start. That was it. But I have felt at times, especially here, that I just didn't want to be there anymore. And I remember one time I was going through it. And this has been a long time ago, so I want to kind of couch what I'm saying in that terms, but probably more than a dozen years, at least maybe up to 14 years ago. I remember going through a really hard time. I had an individual that was very upset. You won't believe this when I tell you this story. Accused me of trying to turn the church into a cult. The reason was that I put blinds up on the windows because we had bought that new projector, that new Fandangle projector, and the bright light was diffusing the screen, so I wanted to see it better, so we put blinds on the windows so we could close them during worship time, and her thinking was, well, the only places that have no windows are Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're a cult, and so you're trying to turn our church, not because of the preaching or the teaching, but because of the blinds, which was...
Wow.
Yeah, and that's a great...
I have not been accused of turning the church into a cult. I was accused early on of trying to turn West Kirk into First Federated.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, West Kirk Federated, that's an interesting ring.
I have a great relationship with my previous church, and it's only 30 blocks east of my current church. So it was a special thing to be blessed and sent off from those folks. Of course, you'll appreciate this, Michael, because the folks at First Federated thought they were sending me to West Kirk as a missionary. To the Paedo Baptists.
There you go. Oh, man, we shouldn't even go down that road. At the fort, when I was going through...
I've been baiting you today.
This stuff. I know you have. I had this individual that accused me of trying to turn the church into a cult. This person did this letter writing campaign. They were writing everybody.
Yeah.
Talking about, Pastor Mike's trying to change everything.
Yeah,
He's
I got
turning
that from that same guy.
And it was, honestly, it was really a big time of frustration. And there was a little bit of division even in the leadership. And I remember one of the leaders at the time coming to me. He's like, Mike, I wouldn't blame you if you decided to go. I mean, this is really rough. It's I don't know how it's going to get better. And
I think the thing that is most frustrating for pastors, people are listening to us right now and they're going, well, my job's frustrating. I've got a wacko at the office where I work.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people intimidate me or bully me or whatever, and I've wanted to quit.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you guys griping about on the radio? I think the most frustrating thing about being in the ministry at the local church is so many people, even in your own congregation, have no idea what you do. They don't understand the stresses and the burdens and the 24/7 nature of the job that we're in. And I feel like I'm whining a little bit here now, but it's only when you walk through a difficult time and a crisis and a real trial with a family that they go, oh.
Well, I'll tell you this.
After that, they appreciate you.
What is really a reality for me is that I know lots of people that think they know what I should do.
Yeah, right.
But nobody wants to do it. And let me tell you this. During all of that difficult time, I had one of my leaders, actually, that one night I needed a ride home. He gave me a ride home. I was sitting in my driveway. He said, hey, I want to read a scripture to you. And he read out of John 10 about the good shepherd and the hired hand.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, the hired hand, when times get tough, he runs and he gets out of there. He doesn't care about the flock anymore.
Yeah.
And he just asked me point blank, Mike, are you a hired hand or are you our shepherd? And that
beautiful
convicted me deep into my soul.
Oh.
And I thought, you know what?
That man's good word to you is going to be blessing to me.
They're going to have to run me out with pitchforks and torches because I'm staying, man. God's called me here. I'm staying.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. So, hey, I appreciate you guys are listening, and we're going to take a break here in just a moment. But give us a call. When have you thought about quitting? 515-727.
It's Mikey, he's better than TV. We're listening to Mikey, and best of all, it's free.
You're listening to FaithWorks Live, and I am your host, Michael Damastis. We are proudly brought to you because of the good people at Baldwin Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Nathan Shanks, their owner. I thank them for getting behind not only what we do here, but the entire station. And believing in what happens here because they care about you, the listener, and wanting to make sure that you know more about Christ because that's our whole goal. And we've been talking, we kind of got sidetracked, but we actually did have a purpose for today. And today's show was, we've been talking for the last couple weeks about high maintenance relationships. Last week we talked about the critic. And today, just to introduce this topic, and
we already introduced it.
We kind of did because we were kind of doing it a little bit.
We were providing an illustration.
The martyr, the martyr. Now, dealing with martyrs, if we talked about different high maintenance relationships, the martyr is the second most frequently cited kind of annoying high maintenance relationship that people come into contact with, and we all have days when we feel a bit like a martyr, days when self-pity just descends on us. But for most people, self-pity is just a fleeting moment. It's a reminder that life isn't always fair. But for the martyr, they just, like a flower that's stepped on, they just stay down.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yep, it's where they live. And it's a tough spot. You know you're dealing with a martyr when you see one, but sometimes it's hard to think about who that person is in your life. At least that's been my experience. You're Chris is saying it's him. But I think that, Les Parrott has given us a good chapter on this in his book, High Maintenance Relationships, that we've been talking about the last few weeks, Michael. And on page 27, he gives us some of those questions that help us identify who the martyr is. Thought it might be good if we went over those a little bit since we were illustrating it last time with our whining together, you and I.
But
the first one it says is, do you know a martyr? It says, if life has a plan, this person, in other words, the person you suspect might be a martyr, feels as if she or he isn't in on it. So do you ever know of somebody who just, life is going by and they feel like they are not along for the ride at all? It's passing them up. Could be that you're dealing with a martyr.
A martyr feels defeated before even entering the competition.
Yeah. They know they're going to lose already. And they tell you.
They do.
Yeah.
A martyr wallows in self-pity.
Right. And whatever advice is offered, this person, the martyr, has reason why it won't work. So, yeah, sometimes you have those people, and that's why giving advice or encouragement or counsel to a martyr, Pastor Michael, is so difficult.
It is.
Because they've already pretty much turned themselves onto the idea that it ain't going to work for them anyway.
Right.
Could be the exception, could be that they're just too bad, too much baggage, too much whatever. It's just...
And if you have this person in your life, I know several martyrs, but there's a couple that I know that I never ask this question. How you doing?
Right.
I will never ask that question of a martyr, and I would encourage you not to either, because when you ask that question, what will proceed from their lips is all the horrible nightmares that you envisioned could come.
Right. You're going to need to sit down.
Yeah.
But I think that that being said, we do need to qualify that. Both you and I know that we don't want to encourage people to get in the habit of not asking people how they're doing, because nothing causes someone who's going through a trial or a struggle to be more frustrated with the life of their church than when nobody acknowledges what they're going through.
Oh, sure. And when I say this, I want you to understand when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about people that I have learned I have to ask other questions.
Yeah.
And
this
typically,
is the poor me person.
Yeah, typically what I try to do is I try to find them in agreement on certain things, like, isn't this sun beautiful? Even though they'll find a way typically to say, no, it's not, because I know now I'm going to get a sunburn and I'm whatever. And I just...
The whole litany begins.
Yes. It's
that's
rough.
the martyr. That's the martyr. It's the person who thinks they're cursed. It's the person who thinks that nothing ever goes right for them. It's the Murphy's Law person in your life. Could be you. Could be your spouse. Could be people you work with. Probably people you work with.
Well,
really drag the office down.
Right here.
I'm sorry. I was not referring to you, Chris Brass.
What was the Disney movie that came out? There's an emotions movie. What is the name of that movie? It's got the different little colored individuals in it, and they're all in the brain of this little girl.
Oh boy,
I can't think of it. Did you? You did.
I do not know the movie. Somebody will put it up on Facebook. But the martyr is the person who feels totally helpless all the time.
Yes,
and it doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter all the positive things that are happening. Inside out. Tara says. Thank you.
Thank you,
I knew
Tara.
Tara would have it.
Yes, that. By the way, that is a great movie.
That's a fairly recent movie.
Yes.
Yeah. I did not see it.
It's fantastic.
I got it on Blu-ray. I'll loan it to you so you can watch it.
Okay.
Well,
is it your life story or?
Well, yes.
No, it's the story of like a little 12-year-old girl. But
other than that,
tomato,
it's
tomato.
I thought it was about a martyr.
Well, there is
Chris
a
is
martyr.
identifying as the martyr in the
What's
room
interesting
today.
is there is a martyr in that movie, and the emotion of kind of sadness, and that is there, and so it's really neat. And the way that Disney works that storyline, that's one of their better movies. It's a very well done movie. Yes, I agree, Tara. It is a great movie. But listen, when you understand the way a martyr ticks, you'll be better suited, I think, when you deal with martyrs, because martyrs can be a drain. Oh my goodness, when you meet somebody that's just, they're always down, and there's always something terrible that's happening. And here's something to just understand, I guess, about knowing a martyr. Martyrs feel diminished by whatever they accept from others. Typically, you can't offer them help, and unless in the book
they won't take it.
He tells a story about a young gal that, because of budget cutbacks, lost her teaching job. And she had a boyfriend who wanted to offer to help make her car payments, but he sadly had to sit on the sidelines and watched her car actually be repossessed because she refused to take help from him. Then he learned that there was another dear friend in her life that was trying to do the same thing. Yeah. And he watched, she wouldn't accept, but she just let it happen.
Well, and she grew up in an environment, and I think, I'm going to make a statement here, and I don't know if it's true or not. It could be that the person who is the martyr has been influenced more greatly by the environment they grew up with, in a tendency leading them to this direction than other people.
Right.
Because you tend to have a person who somehow or another in their home life growing up was not appreciated or valued, not recognized for the things that they did, never given anything perhaps of value that they could have.
Yeah, he told the story of like that one gal, I think it's the same gal, but her father, when she was in college, because she chose to go a different path than pre-law.
Right.
She chose and went to
Wouldn't support her
education.
anymore
He took
financially.
away all the financial assistance. And so she said, there's always strings attached when somebody gave me something.
And so the martyr in this case cannot tell the difference between a gift that is offered in love and a gift that is offered with strings attached.
And that's difficult.
That's terrible.
Because
it's
you want to try to help this person, but they will not accept it because they think, there's going to be something attached to this. There's some catch somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing, but that's important to understand, that's sometimes the makeup of a martyr. Another thing to know is that martyrs are stuck in a mindset that sees no middle ground between lone wolf independence and childlike helplessness.
Yeah. Again, can't tell the difference between the two.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being independent, self-sufficient, maybe a word that more people, and somebody who is helpless. And the martyr is living in fear of being helpless. And so they thrive on their independence and their self-sufficiency to the extent that they won't receive help or even look sometimes into other sources, for whatever, getting a job, anything.
Right. And so another subset of understanding that is that a lot of martyrs fear losing control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they feel like when they have control, which is kind of a misnomer anyways, none of us really actually have any control.
Talking about sovereignty earlier.
Yeah. But that's just a reality. And so when they feel like that they lose that control, whatever perceived control they think they have, then they feel like everything's against them.
And they feel like they've lost control if they're beholden to somebody else. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Martyrs also have a fear of rejection all the time.
I think the people that I know who are martyrs in my life are most known through this thing that you just read here about the rejection, because they're self-defeating. They sabotage themselves.
Yes.
They go into something already planning for its lack of success.
Right.
And the
problem I find is the person that does that, because it's almost addictive, that victim status of being in that place, and they kind of get to a place where they kind of like it.
Yeah,
they like the feeling.
Sometimes you have to ask the martyr when you're the pastor, Michael, do you want to be well?
Yeah.
Do you want to get healthy?
Do you know any martyrs? Why don't you give us a call at 515-727-5842.
The traffic on your way home may be stop and go, but the conversation here never slows down. If you want to be a part of it, you can call or text 515-727-KTIA.
Did you know that a leaky faucet can actually, if left unrepaired, waste more than 3,000 gallons of water a year? Have you ever heard of a silent toilet leak? Silent toilet leaks occur when water does not appear to be running but is being released. Silent toilet leaks can waste thousands of gallons of water every single year. Nathan Shanks, the owner of Baldwin Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, sees problems like this every single day. He can quickly, efficiently, and affordably help you resolve any of your plumbing issues. No problem is too small, and no challenge is too large. Call Baldwin Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing today at 515-371-4036. That's 515-371-4036. And I just want to say thank you to Baldwin Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, because the studio is nice and cool and comfortable.
Yes, it is.
Because of their good work.
And as the spring comes to an end and summer is before us, we're going to appreciate that even more.
Even more. That's right. That's right.
We appreciate our Facebook Live listeners as well, and many of them are contributing online today. Appreciate that. Very nice.
Yes, and they mentioned when we were off the air, they They get to see stuff, by the way, and hear stuff off the air that
Fisticuffs.
our listeners
kinds of things.
don't necessarily get to see. So
Apparently they like it, though.
They do, because they were asked, do you like getting the behind the scenes stuff? And they said, yes, I sure do, because it's really not that interesting to me. But hey, we've been talking about, for the last segment at least, we talked about martyrs and understanding them and kind of identifying. We all have that person that it's just kind of exhausting, because they'll sit down and they'll just go on and on and on about all of their problems. They'll never ask about yours, but they'll just talk forever, it seems like, about their own issues and problems, and that can get old. And so how do you deal with people like that? How do you cope with a martyr if you have one of those high maintenance relationships, people in your life that you would identify as a martyr? How do you cope with that person?
Yeah, coping with martyrs is tough, and I think most of us do what we kind of joked about earlier, which is avoid them.
Yes,
but we're not ministering to them that way. We're not being good brothers and sisters in Christ that way. We're not helping free them up to be able to serve others, which they cannot do as martyrs because they are so fixated on their own issues. So I think the first thing, Michael, is the same thing we talked about last week, which is we all have to be able to identify with the martyr, because we've all, to some extent, been there. We've all gone through difficult times. We've all had situations that were tough, where we felt like we were behind the 8 ball, that nothing was going right.
And that's right. I mean, we've all had that very bad, horrible, no good, rotten kind of day, you know, and that happens for us. Like I said, most people can move past that, can have that day, and just the next day is going to be better. It's when you're staying in that poor me place and you don't move, and you're just kind of vacationing there. That's when you are in danger of maybe being
that's what characterizes a martyr.
A martyr.
Yeah.
So
they stay there. They cannot get themselves up. And since we're talking about their inability, one of the things I want to say to our listeners today is that for Pastor Michael and I, our best friends are the excellent counselors that we can refer people to, because pastors are not equipped for everything.
Right.
And pastors who think they are equipped to deal with every issue that comes up in their church are going to fail. Not only their people, but they're going to fail in ministry. We need assistance. We need a team of people around us too. And martyrs are some of those people that need outside help, because usually they're dealing with some stuff that goes way back into their childhood, their young adulthood.
Yes.
And they need somebody to help them process through that, so they can see it, and get past it.
Can I throw something in here on
Chris.
regarding that? I was a chaplain assistant in the Army, for those of you that don't know. One of the things that I was required to learn was, wherever I was assigned at, to know different facilities that could help marriage counseling, divorce counseling, children, the whole wide spectrum. The chaplain and I were required to know that, so that we could refer people to those too.
And that's because the martyr can't change.
Right.
And you can encourage them, you can tell them you can give them advice, you can do all kinds of things, but they've already ruled out everything you're going to say before you say it.
Typically, and I would only say they can change through the power of the Holy Spirit.
Of course.
But I would say the best thing to understand with them is you probably should set your bar low. Mm-hmm. If you're wanting change, it's most likely not going to happen. For the most part, most of the time, they just don't. They just stay in the place that they're at.
That's right.
And
we don't want to get into a situation like modern psychology, where we think there are certain psychoses that cannot be healed.
Right.
We believe through the power of the Holy Spirit that God can change any situation. Not that those statistics and those things aren't helpful for us, but I think one of the best things you can do with a martyr, though, Michael, is to try to have fun.
Yes.
Have fun with them. If you can get a martyr laughing, that's a great thing, because they are usually wallowing in self-pity and in the midst of the crisis that they're in, and they find themselves in one crisis after another for all the reasons we talked about in the previous segment. They don't take help. They don't take advice. They don't do they don't do anything. And so it's a self-perpetuating thing. But if you can get a martyr out to have some fun, I think that's the best thing we can do. With
I
a martyr.
would agree with that. Now, Saturday Night Live, I remember a few years back did a sketch where they kind of had a Debbie Downer thing where they would do it, and they would have parties for the Debbie Downer, and she, it didn't matter what they tried to do, she always kind of ruined the party, always ruined the gathering. She was the kind of the martyr, and I think about that. I can kind of envision her in those skits I remember seeing on Saturday Night Live. But it is important if you can get them laughing. That's a big deal. I would say another thing to do is, and this is important, this is Les Parrott giving this advice about this. He says, steer clear of advice.
Right.
Don't give them advice.
Yeah, we've talked about that already, because sometimes people who have the martyr complex, they're predisposed to rejecting advice already.
He says trying to give advice to a martyr is like trying to talk a police officer out of a ticket when you've run a red light. It's futile. Martyrs always answer with these words, yes, but.
Yes, but.
And so just don't try to give advice.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's important, though, that we help our friends who are martyrs, especially those of us who are pastors. One of the things I always say, Michael, is we don't get to pick who comes to our church, right?
Right.
The Lord brings them, the Holy Spirit brings them in, and we serve them the best that we can. But so when you're dealing with someone who's a martyr, you need to help them try to identify the actual source of their problem.
Exactly.
Because sometimes they can't see it.
They
It's too
generalize.
clouded.
They generalize, and they'll say things like, everybody's always against me.
Yeah, nothing ever goes my way.
Exactly. And so, and then when they say something like that, Les Parrott gives some advice. He says, well, ask them, say, tell me about that. What exactly hasn't gone right?
Right.
And then you're going to help them maybe zero in a little bit on, and not staying in general, but getting into a specific arena.
Exactly, because the little thing that put them in the pity party that they're in today could be very little.
Right.
And it could be a quick solution, something that you
Exactly.
can help this person solve right away, instead of having it just pile onto their list of reasons why nothing ever goes their way.
Another thing that Les Parrott has said in this chapter is that you need to avoid the guilt trap, because martyrs are masters of inducing guilt.
And I think this is the part about being a martyr that almost everybody can identify.
Yes.
Because we all have a tendency to put the blame for our own issues on something or someone else.
Right.
And that's what this is about. Martyrs do this beautifully. They're professionals.
Yes.
At finding other people to be responsible for the bad things that are going on in their life.
And he points this out, but it's true. You can't ever do enough for them. And so you need to recognize that. Just avoid letting them make you feel
You
guilty.
don't want to wait to be appreciated by the martyr in your life, because they will not appreciate. But I think another thing that's really important, and I touched on this just a moment ago when we were talking about, when I brought up the necessity of counselors for us as pastors, people that can come alongside us and serve our parishioners well, is to know the difference between self-pity and depression. Because it's very possible that you could be dealing with somebody who is depressed and needs a diagnosis and needs medical help. And because some of the same symptoms of the person with the martyr complex and the one who's depressed are identifiable in both. So we want to be able to do that.
And depression, honestly, is a much more serious condition than a person that's just always feeling like everything's against them.
That's right.
And so that is a serious place, and you need to be able to distinguish between the two, even though they sometimes seem very similar.
Yeah.
Finally, on dealing with coping with a martyr, keep your own tank full.
Absolutely. They wear us out.
Oh, man.
They wear us out, and we find ourselves avoiding the martyr people in our lives. We find ourselves not asking them, like you said earlier, Pastor Michael, about how they're doing. We don't want to know because we know it's going to require half an hour.
Right.
So we have to keep our tank full. We have to, when we have somebody in our family or workplace, we have to do the extra effort to prepare ourselves to minister to this person, to be their friend.
Well, we all have these high-maintenance relationships in our life, and sometimes these certain people that are just there at work, at church, in our family even, they can be a drain. But God, through His Spirit, can help us deal with everyone that comes into our life, and we can live at peace as far as it's possible on our end. Thanks for listening today, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.